Hi guys. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for joining me on a Wednesday. Normally I do this on Tuesday, but I couldn't do it yesterday. My little one was not feeling well, so mother duties called. So I'm here tonight. Oh, I see they are still running ads on my videos. So I'll wait a second before people can get in here and start to hear me before I get into everything. But hi guys. Okay, looks like you're here. What you got for us? I got some stuff for you. So first thing I have, interview with the FBI whistleblower Cain. Q had linked to this the other day and it was good. I listened to it yesterday and actually, strangely enough, when all of that stuff was coming out, I started following him on Twitter, but somehow I was not following him anymore on Twitter. But if you have not listened yet, excuse me, to this man's story, I suggest you do. It is not only informative as to what was going on a little bit behind the scenes of, with the Russia hoax, but also to get a glimpse into what they were actually doing to this man and that they had actually weaponized the intelligence agencies against him and how scary that is. And, he made some really great points. I'm one of those people also who, I love law enforcement, I trust law enforcement, but obviously that you can't just make blanket statements about everything, and there are some bad apples, and they tend to be at the very tippy top. It's not your average, it's not your average cop or FBI person, but there is this kind of scary element to, hold on, my throat is tickling me like crazy. Hi, hello from Detroit, awesome. So anyway, what they actually did to this man and harassing him and making him out to be a criminal almost, and interviewing anybody that's ever had contact with him and making them believe that he was some sort of like pedophile or like he was going to be the next Unabomber. And meanwhile, he had legal protections under, the Whistleblower Acts that he should have been protected. What he was doing was not illegal, and so that's very scary. And he was also cooperating. One of the things that he said was that, and this is very true, when you're innocent, you want to cooperate, you want to talk a lot. When somebody asks you a question, you want to answer them, but that can be a very bad idea because you have no idea how they're going to twist and bend things. And he was saying that it was this misnomer that he had, that in order, you'd have to be arrested and they have to read you your Miranda rights in order for them to use anything that you say against you. And that's just not true. So anything that law enforcement asks you, if you answer willingly, you could be hurting yourself down the line. So unfortunately, that did not work for him. He was telling them a bunch of stuff and they were trying to hold it against him in the way that they would go to other people then and make him out. It was almost like there was a name for it. It was really interesting, but something about, they put out all of these they kind of make everybody in your life suspicious of you until somebody comes back with something about you. So even if they don't have anything to go on as far as any kind of crime that you've committed or anything bad that you've done, they will make everybody suspicious of you, make them believe that you've done something terrible and that they need to like spill the beans in order to find something on you. And that's not right. So anyway, listen to that when you get a chance. It's only about 40 something minutes long, and Q linked to it, so it's obviously important. The other day, hang on, I lost my link here. Hopefully this is working because for some reason it's just spinning on my YouTube is just spinning on my computer. But oh my gosh, I don't know if anybody was watching me the other day when I was on the interview with Abe, and he dropped out. And I was just sitting there by myself. It was really, really embarrassing. It was great though. Okay, so February 21st, the other day, we had a bunch of really exciting things happen. Number one, Trump retweeted Praying Medic, which is awesome. Praying Medic is a very huge guy in our community. He's one of the first people that I think a lot of us watch or come into contact with when we find out about Q or looking into Q. And he's always posting about Q. He is a Q account. So it was cool to see Trump retweeting him. Laura Trump tweeted Joe M's video on the same day. I put a link to a good graphic that Enoch made. He's always on it with those graphics, like within minutes. And then another thing that happened, there was a 1-year delta on Harvey Weinstein. So Harvey Weinstein was found guilty on the 24th. And then on February 24th, which was 2 days ago, post 2888 from February 25th, 2019. So the day after Harvey Weinstein was found guilty, but a year ago. Q posted, who will be the next to fall post Weinstein? Big name coming. Nobody is safe. Dark to light. These people are sick. Q. So then the next day, which was exactly the 1-year delta, Bob Igor steps down as the CEO of Disney, which is massive. Disney, I mean, we could go on forever talking about Disney, and I've seen some really great graphics. I know we touched upon it a little bit in the media video that I did. I know that we bring up Disney all the time and talk about it, but there is really no deeper dive that you can do rather than digging into Disney and all of the things that they're a part of. And so that's big news. Then in the same day, we had fashion mogul Peter Nygard to step down amid FBI raids. So he's under an investigation for rape, and after his brand was dropped by a major distributor, the Canadian multimillionaire is leaving his company. And federal agents and New York City police officers on Tuesday raided the Manhattan headquarters of Peter Nygard, a Canadian fashion retailer, as a part of an investigation into allegations of sexual assault, two officials said. The operation followed a raid on his Los Angeles home the night before. The previously undisclosed investigation by a joint child exploitation task force that included the FBI and the New York Police Department has been underway for at least 5 months. Investigators have interviewed for at least 4 young women who claim that Mr. Nygard, the 78-year-old Canadian multimillionaire, raped them in the Bahamas as a teenager. I might have gone over this last week. I know that I tweeted about it. I know that pictures had surfaced of, who was it? That was, there were pictures of him. It was Prince Andrew, was, I believe, photographed with him. Mastercard, same day, Mastercard CEO Banga to step down at year end. Uber Eats CEO steps down effective immediately. The head of Uber's food delivery service unexpectedly stepped down Tuesday after serving the unit since its inception. Jason Droege, the vice president of Uber Everything since March 2014, was a part of Uber Eats since 2015. And the Salesforce CEO, co-CEO Keith Block stepped down. And I guess immediately their shares fell over 2% or $4. So that was just in the same day, I believe, or over the same couple of days. But also this month, we had Les Wexner step down from Lbrands, that's like Victoria's Secret, Bath and Body Works, etc. Hulu CEO Randy Freer stepped down January 31st. MGM CEO James Murren stepped down and sold $22 million in company stock on February 12th. Ginny Rometty is to step down as CEO of IBM, and LinkedIn CEO Jeff Weiner, is stepping down after being at the helm of the professional networking service for more than a decade. That was from February 5th. So those are some huge companies, and Q tells us to watch resignations. Some of these might be significant, some of them might not be. All of them might be, who knows? Let me hop into this chat really fast. Hopefully this is working. For some reason, are you guys having any problems with my doohickey locking up? Because I sure am. Let me know, but we'll just keep on trucking. Buffering? Nope. Okay, some of you, it's fine for some of you, so I'll just keep on going. Trump's visit to India. I put a few links below because it was really cool. It was really cool, and just massive amounts of people in the streets wanting to wave to him, this arena full of people just cheering for him, wearing Trump hats. There was just a lot of love, it looked like. There was a lot of love being shared back and forth with his trip there. I was having some fun with, you know, every time he posts, obviously you get a bunch of shills and trolls under there, like, nobody cares that you're in India, India doesn't want you, or whatever. So of course, when people do that, I start posting like all of the images and videos from like Dan Scavino or whatever, that's showing these literally hundreds of thousands of people that are cheering for him and excited for him, artwork that these people were doing in preparation for him coming, pictures of him and Melania. And I thought it was really cool. So I put 3, I think, links below to those things. Trump has finally addressed the coronavirus. Actually, right as I was waiting to go live, I was watching a video that I think just came out of him basically just saying, wash your hands. Like, you know, so let me see if I found, okay. He said the coronavirus is very much under control in the USA. We're in contact with everyone and all relevant countries. CDC and World Health have been working hard and very smart. Stock market starting to look very good to me. Couple things I take away from this. Number one is, of course, well, first of all, people ask me all the time, am I worried about this? And I really am not, other than the fact that I just am a worrier anyway, because I'm a mother, I'm a germaphobe. I wouldn't say I'm worried about this any more than just the flu and how bad that last flu hit me, especially. I don't want to get sick. I don't want my little one to get sick, but I'm not worried about this. And especially, like, I'll be worried when the president seems worried. He does not seem worried. And I kind of took that last line at the bottom where he says this, where he talks about the stock market. It's interesting because obviously people are making a big deal out of the stock market drop. Thank you, Rob. Thank you so much. That it, you know, dropped significantly over the course of 2 days. And a lot of people think that, you know, maybe this, or are saying that this is, I always have my windows open and then every bug is attracted to the light when I go live. Saying that this is somehow like a distract, or it's I forgot what I was saying. Oh, I was talking about the coronavirus and the stock market kind of falling. So I don't believe that this was in order to do that, but I think that he's just addressing this. Possibly, maybe this is just an added bonus for if this is something that has been done to people on purpose. That's just like an added bonus. You know, this is something to distract from all of the positive things that he's doing. They are running out of ammunition. But basically, in a nutshell, I'm not very worried about this, other than, you know, we should always just be take precautions anyway. We should always have enough food and water in our house just in case. Always make sure, don't touch your hands, don't stick your finger up your nose, don't stick your finger in your eye. That is my biggest thing. I'm constantly rubbing my eyes, and that I have to be like conscious about that. But wash your hands, you know, make sure you don't let anybody cough down your throat. Like, I think it's going to be okay. I'm optimistic. And I also saw he said something about it, we should be done with this by April or whatever. I thought that was very interesting. So we shall see. I'll put a video down below of a comparison between Pete Buttigieg and Obama speaking, and it's like a side by side, and they're like clones. It's really weird. It's almost as if they were trained by the same CIA mission. It's really weird. Like, they have the same voice inflection. They say the same things. It's bizarre. So check that out when you get a chance. I also put a link to a video of, I came across this last night and I just thought it was neat and also very, very kind of telling. is a lesbian who is leaving the progressive left. It's kind of her message to the progressive left, saying that she is leaving them, or rather they have already left her behind. And she is pointing out that, you know, she thought that this was the party that was inclusive and protecting of her rights and everything, and she's seeing just the craziness that's going on, and that they are using you know, I talk about these things all the time, especially on Twitter, when people just love, like, whatever you're saying, if they're not agreeing with you, they're going to call you homophobic, they're going to call you racist, they're going to call you this, that, whatever. So I recently got into it with some people just over the, not got into it, but I was discussing things with people over the drag queen story hour, because there are a lot of interesting connections to that, but bottom line is that they have multiple times created access to children and convicted child predators, people that are convicted pedophiles. And these people were reading to children through this program in libraries and schools, and it happened multiple times. And it has nothing to do with drag queens. I happen to know a fair amount of drag queens, believe it or not. I used to work with a couple drag queens. I have no problem with drag queens, but there are just some things that are not for kids. Same thing with strippers. I have no problem with strippers. But just some things are not for kids. And then especially if you've got the added bonus of it supplying access to pedophiles, I don't care if it's one time, you got to take a look at it and be like, okay, is this worth it? Not to mention that I don't believe that these kinds of programs are necessary in order to teach children tolerance or acceptance of all human beings. You teach a child just to accept everybody, and they get it. That's it. So, you know, I think that, like, it's a touchy subject, but it's not really, if you just state the facts. I know that a lot of people were, there was one person in particular that I was talking to, and some people would kind of jump in, and I was being kind of relentless, and I will do that from time to time on Twitter. People will say like, oh, this person's just a bot, or don't waste your time, you're obviously not getting anywhere with them. But when I'm, just for lack of a better word, arguing with somebody on Twitter, it really isn't so much about the person that I'm talking to as it's an opportunity for you to put any information that you have out there where people might see it. So if any of these conversations happen somewhere, like on a tweet that's getting a lot of attention, like let's say it's a big account that tweeted something, or it's something that Trump tweeted, and you find something to respond to and it starts a conversation. Those are great things to respond to, as long as you can keep the emotion out of it. Don't get upset. Don't rise to their level. Don't sink to their level of emotion, or if they're, you know, just coming at you with verbal attacks or talking about your mama. Just don't get into it. Just don't get into that. It's almost like it doesn't really matter what they say to me or what their response is. I will use whatever they say back to me as an opportunity to put out another infographic that I have, or another picture of something that I've come across. Because believe it or not, a lot of people do go through those threads. Whether they might not like it, they might not interact with it at all, but you are planting seeds. These things are important. Some of the information that I've come across has been in that manner. I'll see a conversation. That's why Twitter is so great. It's so terrible, but it's also so great because it's not an article where you're only getting one side. You are seeing all of these opinions that are collecting underneath it, and not only just one opinion and this different opinion. They're all kind of interwoven, and you're seeing the responses to things, and it's really great. So I think that we should all be taking advantage of that, as long as you can just, never let them, it's hard. It really is, because you'll take a lot of heat, and there are some very aggressive people out there that will call you every terrible thing. They don't care. I got called a racist today, I think. I didn't, it was like nothing even related. I posted a picture of Epstein Island under Hillary Clinton's post. And for that, I got called a racist. So it doesn't even have to make any sense. You gotta just turn off that part of you that lets that get to you, because of course you're gonna have a human reaction to being called one of the most vile things that a human being could be. but at some point you just got to turn it off and just be able to take your opportunities where you can. So this girl is leaving the progressive left. She had a lot of likes on it. She had a lot of views. She was getting a lot of love. I'm sure she was also getting a lot of flack, unfortunately, but I'm sure there are many people out there just like her that feel the same way. So, in fact, I know some people that do feel like she does. The Dem Debates. Did any of you watch that last night? That was fun. It's so crazy. It's really bad. I really do have to wonder how anybody can sit there and feel good about whoever they're supporting that was standing on that stage. And a couple things like Elizabeth Warren, Chris, thank you so much. Amen, Kate, that's exactly the way to handle it. I get called names and laughed at for standing my ground in a loving manner. Exactly, Chris. If you just deliver it with love. I don't care if somebody's like, you're the ugliest, most rotten person I've ever seen in my life. Just be like, okay, cool, but did you see this piece of information? Like, that's it. You don't have to get into it with them. Dem Debates. So the two women up there, I can't believe that they don't see how they are actually putting women in politics back, because they are so bitchy, so condescending, and they never stop talking when their turn is up. It's really just like, it's really ugly. And there is nobody on that stage, I think, that's likable. A couple of things that Joe Biden said, I was like, I kind of giggled at, and I was like, okay, I know he's terrible, but he's also just not a threat, so I just can laugh at him. But everybody else is just completely unlikable. He did say a couple really stupid things. One of them was that he claimed that 150 million people, so basically half our population, have died from gun violence since 2007. The other day, didn't he say something like, I'm Joe Biden for Senate, check me out. If you don't like me, vote for the other Biden. It's like, oh gosh, I feel for him. Put him down, let him go night-night, let him go take a nap. Bloomberg said he spent $100 million to help elect Democrats to the House of Representatives. I have that link down below too. In fact, when he's talking, he's like, I got them, and he like corrects himself. But in case you think it was just a slip of the tongue, he didn't really mean to say that. I have also linked another video that I think was from Utah last week, where he says the same exact thing, but in more detail. He's basically saying that he paid and had 21 seats flipped in the House, making Nancy Pelosi the Speaker. So he's basically taking credit for the fact that Nancy Pelosi became the Speaker of the House because he bought 21 seats. I don't even know what that means. Or he paid to make them Democrat. That sounds like he bought them. So I don't really know what the difference is. The other thing that kind of struck me last night about the debates, Bernie Sanders was getting booed a little bit, and man, if there's something that I'm noticing about him is that he cannot take criticism. He does not handle criticism well. He gets very visibly shaken. You can tell he has an emotional response to it. I mean, that is a night and day difference between him and Trump. Everything is water off a duck's back to Trump, and not Bernie. Doesn't make him look too cool. And he was kind of he was barely anything. He really wasn't getting much. He got booed a couple times, and some people were, calling him on some of the crazy things he said, supporting, the communist regime in Cuba that murdered people and treated people horribly. And he said, well, they taught people to read. Well, they taught people to read so that they could indoctrinate them. It wasn't out of the goodness of their hearts. It was a tool so that they could brainwash them. So he was getting some crap for that, and he just could not handle it. 8 Democratic and independent elected officials in Mississippi joined the Republican Party. Sensing the sentiment in their state has swung toward the GOP, 8 Mississippi political office holders who were either Democrats or independents have joined the Republican Party. I have a list here of the 8 people. Matt Sullivan, District Attorney for the 13th Circuit, Cindy Austin, Chancery Clerk, Anthony Grayson, Circuit Clerk, Mary Lou Powell, tax assessor collector, Danny Arender, beat 4 supervisor, and Hulan West, justice court judge for the Southern District of Smith County. Interesting. Court sides with Trump in sanctuaries grant fight. The Trump administration can withhold millions of dollars in law enforcement grants to force states to cooperate with U.S. immigration enforcement. And federal appeals court in New York ruled Wednesday in a decision that conflicted with the 3 other federal appeals courts. The ruling by the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan overturned a lower court's decision ordering the administration to release funding to New York City and 7 states: New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Washington, Massachusetts, Virginia, and Rhode Island. The states and cities sued the U.S. government after the Justice Department announced in 2017 that it would withhold grant money from cities and states until they gave federal immigration authorities access to jails and provide advance notice when someone in the country illegally is about to be released. Seems like common sense, but so that's a win. We have a new Project Veritas that's exposing ABC News. At what point, I mean, these are great. These are great. A lot of us already know this very clearly, but these are great for people who aren't clear yet on what mainstream media is about, how they operate. It's great to, that they use footage from gun shows and say that it's, people being slaughtered in the Middle East. It is, I hope they just keep coming out with these things. And like we were talking about last time when they came out with the Bernie Sanders campaign one, it seems like they're going to have at least one big one a month. I don't know if what they released today, or at least what I saw today, is everything. There might be more to this one. It seems like that's kind of how they typically do it. They'll release a little bit of it and then release a longer one. I only saw a 9-minute video that I have linked below. Let's see. Republicans confirm incoming criminal referrals against Mueller prosecutors. During an interview with Just the News, former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Ted Cruz, confirmed House Republicans are planning to send criminal referrals against special counsel Robert Mueller's prosecution team. Having examined witness reports and other documents released by the FBI, Cruz and his team of Republicans have now claimed to have evidence that Mueller's team misled courts during their investigation. I didn't write this down, but there was also a part of, like, the most interesting part to me at the end was it was Devin Nunes. It was a quote from Devin Nunes where he's basically saying the question I most want answered, or something like that, is at what point did they know that they were using a dirty dossier that was paid for by Hillary Clinton? Through this whole long process, at what point did the FBI actually know that this was corrupted from the get-go? I will be interested in hearing that as well. Hi guys. I really just have a couple things. I'll check in really quick here with the chat. I've been trying to tell people about what the media really is since the 1980s. I'm so glad to finally see people waking up to it. I can't even imagine knowing for that long. I'm actually kind of glad that I was not privy to it for that long. I would have lost my mind. You are a bigger man than I. Papa D told the truth and Mueller team lied to courts. That's true. From the beginning. So we had DHS, Department of Homeland Security, whistleblower Philip Haney was found dead on Friday. He was found shot dead near his vehicle in California. He had been missing since Wednesday, I believe. And he was a whistleblower against the Obama administration. I've got a couple links down below talking about kind of what he was blowing the whistle on. These are things in the past, but I believe that it may be safe to assume that if he was being killed, it might have more to do with something that he was involved with that was going on currently. Perhaps, something that Obama is getting in trouble for now, or that these people are getting in trouble for now, rather than what he's already blown the whistle on. He told Sean Hannity in 2016 that he was ordered during the Obama administration to scrub the record of Muslims in the U.S. with terrorist ties. He also spoke out against the Muslim Brotherhood's infiltration of U.S. government in October. And I've got a few links down below. The last thing that I put on there is related to that in a way, and it's this thread that I came by. I don't know who the author of it is, but as I was reading it, it was going along with a lot of the research that I had been doing, and he was basically connecting this whistleblower, Philip Haney, to a friend of his who was also a whistleblower who was killed, I believe, on the same day, and how they were all connected to the Mexico and Arizona mafia and Judge Janet Napolitano. And there was something that was kind of on a personal level to me interesting. And I know that I've told you guys before, throughout my research and throughout these last weird 2 years, there are so many times that something will have just a weird, completely just not, it doesn't matter that it's connected to me, but it will just be like this small connection. Like I was telling you about the Kobe Bryant thing. It happened right across the street from my middle school, right? There's no meaning to it, but just like all these different connections. So when I was doing research on NXIVM, I was getting into a lot of the Mexican mafia stuff. You know, one of the top guys at NXIVM was Emiliano Salinas, the son of the ex-president of Mexico. The ex-president of Mexico was trying to, you know, make a deal for Keith Raniere, who was the president of NXIVM. So there were all these connections. And I was reading about this one thing that was about Carlos Slim, who I guess he's the richest man in Mexico, I believe, or one of them. And he owns, I believe, a telecommunications company, but he also has the Carlos Slim Foundation, which is like the Mexican version of the Clinton Foundation. And in this particular article I was reading, wait, should I go back? Yeah, I'm gonna go back and tell this story first, and then I'll bring it full circle. So like I don't have the greatest memory, but there are just certain things that I'll never forget. And there was this one story that I've actually I tell to people. I don't know why, it just comes up, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, listen to this crazy story that happened to me when I was in my early 20s. A friend of mine was seeing a guy, and we went down to Nogales to hang out with him and his friends. And we get to this house, and it's like a very nice house for a college guy. And it was the college guy's house. It wasn't like his parents' house. And so I thought that was kind of weird. Anyway, we decided to go across the border into Mexico to just like go drink or whatever. And the owner of the house was wearing this very flashy watch. Like, I think it was gold. It could have even had diamonds on it. It was just like very flashy. And I looked at it and I was like, are you gonna wear that into Mexico? And he said to me, yeah, he's like, my dad is the head of the Mexican mafia. Nobody's gonna F with us. And I was like, okay, dude, whatever. And then he goes on to say, like, he's gonna be, you know, as soon as he graduates, he's gonna be the mayor of Nogales, like, da 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 da. And I'm just like sitting there like, okay, dude, you're so cool. I was not believing him whatsoever. Anyway, we go into Mexico and we go to this bar, and it was daytime. We were like one of the only tables in there. There were only a few other people in there. And we're hanging out for a little bit, and then these three guys who had been at another table the whole time get up and they come over to us. And they say to him, basically, like, the guy in the front is like, nice watch, dude, or whatever. And I was like, I knew it. Here we go. And then he says something to the effect of, like, do you want to keep the watch or do you want to keep the girls? Because there were two girls. And the bartender heard this guy talking. comes over and says to the guy in Spanish. At the time, my Spanish was good. Now it sucks. But anyway, this is all happening in Spanish. He comes over and says to the guy, basically, do you know who that is? And immediately the two guys behind him, I see their eyes light up and they get it. And they're just like, oh my gosh. And then the guy in the front gets it. And he's like, oh, you know, like, I'm so sorry, or whatever, and backs off. And I was like, whoa, that's really weird. This guy, I guess, has some, whatever, I guess he is cool. Like, it was weird. Anyway, that story always stuck with me just because that was a very scary moment for me. I felt like I was going to get sold for a watch. And anyway, as I'm doing all this research into Carlos Salinas and Carlos Slim and the foundation, I am reading this article, and in the article it's talking about how the mayor of Nogales was the liaison between the Carlos Slim Foundation and the Clinton Foundation, brokering millions of dollars between them, and that it's the mayor of Nogales, and this is his name, and it, for some reason in this article, had the picture. If it didn't have the picture of this guy, I wouldn't have known, it wouldn't have dawned on me, but I was like, oh my gosh, that's that guy. And I looked him up, and sure enough, he started being the mayor of Nogales when he was like 24 or something like that. So he was telling the truth, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've met that guy. Anyway, that guy is also brought up in this guy's thread, and all of this dirty stuff that goes on with the Arizona Mafia, I believe, is going to be another one that is way bigger than we think it is. Far more connected. This is a very deep dive. It has connections to everything. And, you know, that's close to me, so I pay more attention to it, but it's just like everything else. Like the NXIVM thing, when you look at it and you think it's this compartmentalized little thing, and it really isn't. Everything is kind of one and the same. I just thought that was interesting. And so I linked that below. You guys can read it. Carlos Slim owns New York Times. Thank you. Does he own New York Times? I know he owns... Yeah, that sounds right. Sometimes when I research, or most of the time when I research things, it goes just kind of out my brain, unfortunately. And I had done this really great deep dive on NXIVM. I made all these notes. I still have my notes with the you know, ambition of making a really great video about NXIVM. But then a million things happened since then, and that kind of gets swept under the rug. I know that's going to come back out. I feel like it's going to come back out because we're going to find out more and deeper connections to it. So it's still worth doing, but so many people at this point have covered it and covered it well. But it was good for me to do my own research on it and to learn these things myself and even make a like tiny little personal connection to it, because I'm like, oh, that helps me learn. Like, I can put names with faces and that helps. So, okay, yes, the Times. Can you imagine if you hooked up with this guy? No, I cannot. But although I've been stupid my whole life, I've also somehow been kind of smart. So I don't, like, I've been in precarious positions, but I don't look back and think like, oh man, that was a bullet dodge, because that just wasn't me. I actually, interestingly enough, met Harvey Weinstein even one time at a friend's house, and there were just a couple of us there. So that was a very brief thing, but then of course I look back on that and I'm like, dang, yo. Forgot about the soup on the stove. Thought Allison Mack had a double meaning to Arizona Mafia. That's interesting. That when Allison Mack got arrested, that was a big thing for me, because that was like, I remember thinking that day, like, I thought it was all going to come crashing down within the next couple days. I was like, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for. Lo and behold, here we are like a year and a half later. Yeah, I've dodged several bullets, but like not really, because I've just brushed some of these situations, but I've never been connected enough to really know, like a lot of people that, you know, not just related to this, but there have been a lot of celebrities in life that I've like met or like been in the same room with, but that means nothing. You don't know anything about it. You can't like read something. You know, oh, yeah, we sat at a bar together for 15 minutes, so I know that this person was involved with this. No. The man in the painting is Nikola Tesla. Slim is basically the Waltons Walmart of Mexico. He wants the illegals to send the money that they make here back to their families, then their family buys everything at the Slim stores. Oh, interesting. Where is Ray Chandler? Did I do a Matrix dance? That sounds like me. I don't doubt it. Wasn't there a show, a Nickelodeon show, Alex Mack? Yes. Believe so. I never saw it. Greetings from Germany. Hello from Germany. Yeah, Rachel has been a sighting of her or anything since, at least since I started following Q February 2018. So I have no idea. I found this really weird, speaking of her, this just reminded me of her. I don't even know how I got on it. I think I was following some weird hashtag and got on this girl's page who was a model, a European model. And I think I took about 500 screenshots of this girl's page. I'm not even kidding. Really questionable symbolism, weird photos of children with strange captions and comments and whatever, and it was upsetting because like, what do you do when you come across something like that? I sent it to people that I thought could give me direction, but it really seemed like this girl was involved somehow with child trafficking, just based on these photos and what she was being like almost blatant about. And she had a lot of followers, but obviously these followers have no idea. They're like, oh, she looks like she has such a lavish lifestyle, whatever. And it was just actually very sick. There's so much going on, it's hard to keep track of everyone. Hello, Lawrence. No, Alex Mack was on Nickelodeon. There's a new G. Maxwell type person identified for Epstein's ring runs, a child something in California. Interesting. I hadn't seen anything on that. It may have been a CIA profile, like Allure. Yeah, I don't know. She was doing all the symbolism. Oh, I remember one of the things was there was a picture of the girl with her grandfather. She's like, oh, this is, me and my grandfather. And he had those eyebrows. You know what I'm talking, where they grow them really long and then they brush them up and like wax them up. I've heard them called eyebrows before because they look like the little plumage things that come off of the tops of owls' heads. And there are some very questionable people that have connections to the donkeys and the Church of Satan and stuff like that do that with their eyebrows. So I saw her with her grandfather like that, and I was like, whoa. It was just one thing after another. I'm sure I still have all of those pictures on my phone, but it was gross. Usually that's strange, usually women defend and protect children. It's true, so do men, actually, but the thing that struck me with this girl is she was very young herself. She couldn't have been more than 17. And unfortunately, what I believe happens is it's a pattern of it where they grow up with it and don't have those normal instincts because they've been traumatized out of them. And so they might not even really know, well, not that they don't know right from wrong. It's hard, I don't know how you really put that, but they just aren't going to have those normal instincts. Thank you, Game On. Keep it up. That's the sticker. How is your meditation practice going? I don't meditate. I don't know how. I mean, I kind of do. I've tried meditation. I've never been very good at it. I've had some people try to kind of get me to try transcendental meditation, but there's just something about it that I'm very afraid of, I guess is the best way to put it. I don't like the idea of it. I know a couple people who got very heavily into transcendental meditation and ended up killing themselves. And from the surface, at least from what I knew, that was the only thing that had changed in their lives. And they were happy, upbeat people, and then that happened. And so that kind of meditation, I believe, might be different than others, or, you know, maybe there's just, or maybe it had nothing to do with that. But from my perspective, I was like, I think I might not. I think I'm good. I mean, I kind of meditate unofficially all day long. My brain is always kind of going, and I'm pretty stagnant. Like, I'm busy, but then I do, like, when I'm in my research mode and I'm looking things up, I will kind of pause and just like stand and like sit and stare for a minute. I don't know if you call that meditation, but we're gonna go with that. I've watched some good videos on, like, I tried, like the monkey mind and giving the monkey mind something to keep it occupied so that you can kind of clear it or whatever. I think it's kind of like yoga for me. I didn't get it right away. I wasn't good at it right away. So I was like, I don't like this. I don't have much stick-to-itivism, but I'm also kind of doing okay without it, I think. I meditate randomly when it just happens. Last night I did, and last week and a month before that, rarely. Just pray or relax or stretch or yoga even, that's fine. Like, my meditation is honestly like going out in the sun and sitting in the sun and just relaxing, and I'll let my mind kind of do whatever, but I don't really say like, oh, I'm going to meditate, or I don't do it for a specific amount of time or really have a specific way I do it. I just sit down and act like a potato. Yoga can be meditation. Yeah, totally. I've heard that. Actually, there was one kind of, my friend was a yoga instructor, and I used to take one of her classes that was, it was in the hot room, but it wasn't all of the flowing movements. It was like you would get into a position and you would be in that position for 3 to 5 minutes. And she would kind of come around and massage you with essential oils, like help you stretch better into it. It was really just about stretching. And I loved that. I could do that every day, but I don't like all of the, whatever those things are called. Big hair tsunami. Implanting Trump 2020 commemorative dinner plates under my lips. Authenticity is mimicking Kate's Instagram duck faces to the public. TKA's 8-coon call sign is Daffy Duck, quite appropriate. Thank you so much, sir. Do I make duck faces? I don't think so. I try not to. I try to be very cognizant of the duck. I don't do the duck, and I also, when I'm doing my stupid thumbnails for these videos, I'm always just like, because I'm afraid to make a face. I'm afraid to be like wink or do anything that like where my one eye would be covered or anything that's gonna look suspicious. So I'll just sit here and stare like a dork in every single one of my pictures. I'm too old for selfies. I don't do that anymore. That was like 10 years ago. I take a Valium and then meditate. That's probably effective. I want to meditate with shrooms, but I have to pass drug tests. Yeah, I'm probably past that part of my life at this point, but there's a part of me that is interested in, not peyote, what's the stuff? What is that stuff that they say? Someone will know it. That they say is like a very spiritual experience, because I've heard really cool things about it. And the people really learned. But I'm a control freak. I don't like to be out of control. That's why I don't drink. I don't like that. But if I was in a very controlled situation, and there's actually a really funny, what's that show called? Portlandia, where they're like the responsible drug doers, and like the entire thing is them setting up this really responsible scenario for them to just do drugs. Like, they get the babysitter and they're like, okay, but we need to have the water, we should call the police ahead of time. Like, that's what I would be. DMT, thank you. That's what I would be like. You don't ever want to do drugs with me. You'd have a very bad time. I'd be like, promise me I'm not gonna die. Ayahuasca. Thank you. Yes, ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is the drug. Let's all go to Peru on ayahuasca. I have friends that do it like once a month. With the same group of people, they all get together and do it in California. That sounded bad. They do ayahuasca. And they go with this shaman and they do the whole thing. They do the whole ritual and everything. And that's, on one hand, it's appealing to me, but on the other hand, I'm like, I don't really need it. Like maybe if I had the opportunity to do it like 10, 15 years ago, maybe I would have done it, but will I come on your show? Yeah, sure. But of course, and thank you. What? Peyote. Once a year, maybe. I think it can be beneficial if occasionally. I had no issue with lack of control. I could turn it off. I guess I'd be afraid of, well, that's good. That's good to know. And it's a very short time, right? Things like acid really freak me out because if you have a bad trip, then you're stuck there for hours. And that sounds like actual hell. DM me on Twitter. Awesome, thank you. There's a church in Arizona where peyote is their religious right. Interesting. Actually, I did know that. I actually looked it up on a website one time. I got some like wild hair at my ass and I was like, I'm gonna do ayahuasca. Like looked it up, like how you do it legally and whatever. I do walking meditation. It's awesome because when you're done meditating, you've gotten exercise and traveled to a cool new location. I like that. I love to walk, actually. I really love to walk, so I could do that. Don't learn it. Meditate is just quiet the mind. Watch a sunset alone, away from people, and you get the same effect. See, that's a problem when you're a parent. You kind of have to like carve out those moments. They can't just be spontaneous. And I would have to be like, okay, I need to go and do this for however long. It's not that easy. So that's another reason why I don't do it, or why I like take my moments here and there just to like, I take a lot of baths though. I take a lot of baths, like a ridiculous amount of baths. I've got my Epsom salts and, you know, all that stuff. Salt water, you know, I know is cleansing for a lot of things too. And so I do find that I feel a lot better. Somebody had recommended to me a few months ago that I do foot baths with rock salt. And I tried that even, I really like that. So that's probably my meditation. Although sometimes I'm just in there on my phone playing Candy Crush, so. I stayed away for a really long time from playing Candy Crush. But then there was just one day I was like, I don't have anything to do for the next 5 minutes. I might as well, like, I don't know, pick it up. Actually, I was really addicted to a game called Heyday, which is like one of those farming games. It was just so satisfying in just like a very dumb way. But I got into that when I was pregnant and I had to like wean myself off of it and then give myself like a hard date to be like, okay, you can't do this anymore. It is eating up your life. But I loved it. It's cute. Fungus Among Us. My kid says that a lot. A stroll in nature in the woods or beach will not only soothe you, but it also ground you to the earth's frequency. Yeah. I'm in the desert, so I don't really have a lot of like beautiful nature around me. I mean, it is beautiful, but in a different way. I wish I lived somewhere. When I lived in California, I used to go at least once a week and hike in the mountains that like overlook the beach, and I would time it so that I would be at the pinnacle of it right when the sunset was happening, and that was like my religion. If I didn't do that, that was like what I did to cleanse myself. And if I skipped it a week, I could feel the difference in myself. But I agree. I do like to like take my shoes off, stand in the grass or whatever, any chance that I get, because I don't see a lot of grass. Kate, you'd love Animal Crossing on Nintendo. Don't tell me that. Actually, I really don't like many video games. I've never been like a video game person. I never really used to play them. I used to watch my brother play them, and I liked watching him play, but I don't like to play them myself. I love Heyday, but not addicted anymore. Just fun to get away from Cali life and my breaks now. I haven't had a bath in years, only showers. I couldn't live without a bath. In fact, I watched some of those, the only TV I ever watch is HGTV, and so I always watch these like home renovations, and I can't believe the amount of people that literally take the bathtubs out of homes and just put showers in. I'm like, I would lose my mind. I couldn't, and like if I go to a hotel and they don't have a bathtub, that's the only thing I'll complain about, or like ask to change a room, because I need a bathtub. Oh, Mortal Kombat. I must say I used to be pretty good at Mortal Kombat and Tekken. The arcade kind. I used to go to the arcade actually in my, I think I was 19, no, I was 20. I was 20 years old and I was in an apartment that was like walking distance to an arcade, and I used to go there and school all of the teenage children in Tekken. Like, what's that game you're playing? You guys wanna play? Then I'd crush them. I first shower, then soak in clean bath water. Yes. Bubble bath. Yeah, I like bubble bath too, but when I started getting like obsessive about toxicity, I guess, and like chemicals and what's in all of these products, I never really found a bubble bath that I liked that was it wasn't like Mr. Bubble that like probably like titanium in it and like zinc and I don't know, coronavirus. Epsom salts to remove toxins. Yeah. Yeah, that's part of why I do it. And take NaC. It's also good for cleaning your liver, cleansing your liver. Organic bubble bath products. Awesome. I'm addicted to crystals and shoes. When we moved into our new house, I had to hide my crystals in my shoes. That's cute. I don't really have any crystal. I have a couple crystals, small crystals. I have geodes. I used to go to Knott's Berry Farm when I was young with my dad and my brother and my sister, and we would always get geodes, and so I still have a couple of those. I think my sister has the bulk of them, but I've got a couple. Those are cool. Who's going to be the next indictment? George Soros, bets anyone? According to what Q said, it's going to be somebody massive. What they say? It's going to like shake up the whatever. I think it would have to be somebody kind of like Obama, because I think George Soros, while he'd be huge, would not be enough to really like shake up the psyche of the collective consciousness, because people don't really know who he is, to be honest. Kate, do you think Trump will disclose to the public the Luciferian-controlled inner circle that many of our congressmen and CEOs are involved in? Q acknowledges the Luciferian plan and the plan to expose. I don't know if that's going to be, I don't know. I think eventually that will get exposed. Whether it is going to be something that Trump says, I don't know. Maybe they will expose themselves. You know, I don't really know how that's going to work. I don't even really have a theory other than I think we are going to see big things within the next couple of years, but I don't really know. Like at one point I really believed that it was going to all come at once. I don't think I believe that anymore. Hillary Clinton, I would also go for that one. It's going to be hard for Michael and Hillary to run if it's Obama. It's quite a true statement. Bell Rock and Sedona, yep. I love Sedona. Obama would shake California. They would take it worse than Kobe death, especially. I mean, really, everybody. He's an icon, you know. he is, whether we like it or not, and with the things that we know about him, he was more than just a president, because he was an icon in pop culture also. So because he was young and hip and whatever, and good looking, people treated him more like a celebrity than a president. So he's kind of got both of those worlds. That's why I feel like it'll be somebody like him. Think Eagle dog face. You should check out Underground War Happening Now. Pretty crazy. Somebody, I think it might have been you, said that last time, and I don't really know what that is. Ukrainian government is investigating an HIV charity Soros has donated lots to for embezzlement. If Obama were first, we would have civil unrest. Yeah, I see that too. So maybe like a Hollywood celebrity could be, like, what would your guesses be for a Hollywood celebrity that would really wake people up? Like Oprah? I could see Oprah. Although Oprah isn't much, like, it isn't back in the days where like housewives were sitting watching. She no longer has her show, right? As far as I know. So she's not really there was one time, I remember when I was growing up, when my mom was watching Oprah, she called it her hour of power, and it was like we knew we couldn't talk to our mother during that time. And that was very common in a lot of houses. And so Oprah was in the houses of American people every single day, and with what she was doing and how she portrayed herself, she really appeared to be an angel and this wonderful person. And so back then, somebody like Oprah would have really rattled society. At this point, I'm not too sure how important Oprah is. I know she's still got a big following, but as far as the younger generation is concerned, I'm not really sure they're like that into Oprah. Ellen is a good hint, or a good guess. Hanks is also a very good guess. I would go for either of those. Although Ellen is, I've heard accusations about Tom Hanks. Ellen is obviously connected in some bad ways, but maybe there's still a part of me that's like holding out hope that she's not a terrible person, because all of these people I used to love. I really loved Ellen, but I really loved Tom Hanks. But once you find out something so terrible about them, as long as you are feeling prepared for it, I guess you can let go of those ties. Bill Gates, again, that's a good guess, but I also don't think that people would care that much. He's just some like old rich guy to young people. Hi, Rachel. I'm losing hope anyone significant is going to be held accountable. All I can say is I'm not. I'm seeing the gears turning. I'm seeing things happening. It was never going to come at us in a way that was obvious from the get-go. The awakening experience is very important. And if they did just throw it on the, mainstream news to where it was obvious, like, oh my gosh, look at all of the stuff that's happening, it would not be good for society. So it is happening the way that it's happening, I believe, on purpose, and I think that if you're really looking, you are seeing it. De Niro, yeah, could be. I don't think he's so beloved, though. Not the way that Ellen and Oprah and Tom Hanks are. I mean, people really love them. Katy Perry, I don't think so. I think that's a very specific demographic, maybe, with Katy Perry. She's doing a lot of weird stuff, too, with the Vatican. Like, didn't she go and teach yoga at the Vatican? And now she's doing, I can't remember, but she's doing some weird work with the Catholic Church, and it's very strange to me. What if it's the Pope? That's an interesting theory. Yeah, that could be. Bush Jr. Yeah, could be. Again, though, I don't think that would, I think there are very actually few people that like him. I think there are the Democrats that always like never really liked him, made fun of him, and they're like, okay, well, he's kind of cool because in comparison to Trump, like, okay, we'll tolerate him now. And he like hangs out with Obama and like, you know, plays footsie with Michelle. And then you've got the people that were on the right who might still be believers in him. Like once upon a time, I used to think that the Bushes were great people. But I think a lot of us that were in that spot have completely changed our opinions. So I don't think he's got that much of a fan base. Prince Andrew. Well, Prince Andrew's already kind of unraveling. If Bush were first, it would make Obama much easier to be next. Or what if they did it at the same time? We all have those fantasies of them like throwing some event and televising it, and then they all get like frog walked out at the same time. That would be marvelous. I don't think it's gonna, I think it's gonna be like a big one, maybe like a few big ones. No, probably like a bit, I think it's gonna be like a big celebrity, and then I think we're gonna start getting into like the FBI guys and the political guys that maybe not, won't have the same social effect on people that don't pay attention to these things, but it will start to wake people up a little bit more, and the people that are paying attention are going to be like, well, hold on there. And then I think it's just going to start snowballing. Yeah, John Brennan. Eventually, it's going to be all of these people, which is the exciting thing. I'm getting this really weird headache. I hope they have invented a time machine, because I'm going back to make sure I'm the boy ever to give Kate a flower. That's very sweet. They should let Hanks do one more good movie first. Like, really, does he need one? He's had some good ones. I'm gonna be sad at all of the movies he's gonna have ruined. So many great movies, and I'm not gonna be able to watch any of them anymore. Hasn't he done enough? Well, you guys, I'm getting a pressure headache, so I'm gonna scoot. But I'll be back next Tuesday, and thank you guys for being here.